In the famous words of Freak Nasty, when I dip, you dip, we dip. And we are about to go through housing market dips in the Southern California Housing Market Report. Hey there, Christian Walsh, forever agent with Wire Associates, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, and we've been helping buyers and sellers make the best data-driven decisions during these crazy days. So if you're ready to dive into the single family and multifamily numbers, plus property price decreases for Orange County, LA, Riverside, San Diego, San Bernardino, and Ventura counties, hit that like button. And let's get started. Running through the Southern California numbers, we're going to start with single family data for Orange County. We're going to talk about the properties that have sold, the number of properties that have gone under contract, number of new listings for the first 2 weeks in April. This is spring buying, selling season. What is going on with our market right now? You will know after watching this. And dips, speaking of dips, look at the dips we have here. We can see a massive dip in the numbers when we look back at 2020. And that was the COVID years. That was the beginning of COVID, and you can see the huge drop year over year that we had in the number of new listings and the huge drop in the number of properties that went under contract. Now, what you will see for 5 of the 6 counties, so make sure you check them all out, you will see that the number of properties going under contract, so this is buyer demand, the number of buyers out there writing offers and getting homes locked up, is actually lower in 2020 than it is here in 2023. Now, one important thing that may affect the numbers, and we talked about it in a previous video. What we talked about was CalHFA giving up to 20% of the purchase price through a shared appreciation program called the California Dream for All. And that program, unfortunately, was just getting ramped up in the first couple weeks of April and ran out of money very quickly. We started to see it in the numbers for the number of properties going under contract. But a lot of these properties ultimately will have an escrow that cancels. So we will have to check this out. We had that happen to one of our listings where it turned into a lottery system for buyers. So it most likely affected the number of pending sales we're going to see in potentially all the different counties. So that is one important caveat I'd like to put here. As far as the number of total sales, we can see that in 2020, we were coming out of a more normal market before COVID. Sales were down, but they're still significantly more than they were in 2023. So sales are still down, but new listings are down as well. We see these numbers here are tighter together than they've been at any point in time. In fact, they've done the twist. More properties went under contract than properties were brought to the market. So this is a crazy seller's market. Again, we'll see what happens if the CalHFA funds have distorted these numbers, and potentially they have slightly. Moving into Los Angeles, more dips. Look at that huge dip in the number of properties going under contract in 2020 due to COVID. So this is really when we saw the effects in the market. Real estate agents were deemed non-essential in the first couple of weeks, and so transactions went down significantly as we all adapted to that new normal. New listings dropped significantly as well. So we can see that we're not at those low levels for new listings in LA. But the number of properties going under contract and number of new listings, those numbers are tight together. An important point as well, when you see that the number of sold properties is lower than the number of properties going under contract, that means that we're seeing an increase, and we will see the number of sold properties theoretically go up as long as it's not as distortion from the CalHFA funds. So we should see as we get further into spring that we have more properties closing. One other important point about Los Angeles single family homes, we do expect an uptick in inventory. Now that the LA city and county eviction moratoria are over, landlords are going to have paths they can take to sell their rental properties, and we expect to see more inventory start to hit the market in Los Angeles. And in fact, we're helping landlords navigate this complex process right now and making sure they follow the steps of the law and respect tenants' rights while we are selling the property for them. Riverside, another market with a big dip, and we can see that the pending sales and new listings are down. Now, another important thing about CalHFA, I keep bringing this up, is it did go up to just over $1 million $100 potentially. So we would find in certain markets that it wouldn't affect all price points. And I ran through that in that video where I talked about the price points it would affect. Riverside is a market where price points are lower, so it could potentially distort the numbers pretty significantly on the number of offers written. And we can see that the new listings and pending sales are very close together. So this is an extreme seller's market, assuming that there isn't a big distortion in the number of properties going under contract. San Bernardino, another market where the CalHFA funds would have gone far, and we could see we've got the twist and more properties going under contract than new listings. New listings down significantly. In fact, a little lower than where they were in COVID days. So it's interesting to see how we've got our dip in COVID and a dip now in the numbers of properties that are under contract and listed and sold. Ventura is a market where things have slowed significantly. This is the one of the 6 markets where we actually have fewer properties going under contract in 2023 than we had in 2020. And this is potentially with a slight bump from CalHFA. So things are really slowing down significantly in Ventura. We've talked about this before, how it's not necessarily a bellwether of what's going to happen in other counties, but something we need to track. Their numbers are down and continue to go down in Ventura for sales. In fact, this is a market where we have the pending sales lower than the number of properties that have sold. So what we can expect in the months ahead is the number of sold properties will drop. Unlike the other counties in Southern California, we should see an increase in the months ahead for the number of properties that are selling. We are not going to see that here in Ventura. Those numbers will continue to drop. San Diego, big drop in 2020, and then a drop here in 2023 like we've seen. And we've got the twist. We have more properties going under contract than we have new listings. So crazy seller's market, and another market where approximately half the market could be affected by CalHFA. So we'll have to see how this plays out in our next updates to see where the pending sales end up. And if you like our numbers, you're going to love working with us as real estate agents. We have a sales and marketing regional center in Orange County and Los Angeles, and we can help you out anywhere in Southern California. We have a link below so you can reach out. Moving into the multifamily numbers, anything 2 units or bigger that is sold, been listed, or gone under contract for the first 2 weeks of April. One of the only places you're going to find this data, starting with Orange County, and we can see that we have the twist between the number of new listings and the number of properties going under contract. And what we won't see is any effect from the CalHFA funds. The CalHFA funds were exclusively for a single family home or a condo, not for multifamily, so there was no effect from that on this market. What effect we're seeing is we're seeing that cash flow is being crunched by the mortgage interest rates. So we can see that it's tougher and tougher for properties to pencil. Despite that, we do have still solid demand, and it's definitely up from where it was in the dip in 2020. And it's even up compared to 2022 for the number of properties having gone under contract. And that's when rates were over 1.5 points lower at that point in time. LA, the eviction moratoria are over. So if a landlord had a non-paying tenant, there are things they can do now, but still it's going to take some time to work its way through the system. We can see that the number of properties going under contract is low, not as low as 2020, but it is low. At the same time, inventory is low. So multifamily property owners in LA are choosing not to list. Riverside, you can see listings have been all over the place, but they are down, and demand is down, but the number of new listings is at the same number. So with this close demand and supply, you can see that this is a hot market, and it would be a seller's market for multifamily in Riverside. In San Bernardino, we had the effects of weather, the inclement weather, where they were snowed in some areas, and that was certainly affecting the numbers. We're moving beyond that for new listings and pending sales. And this is another market where the inventory and new listings are very tight together. So this is a seller's market for multifamily in San Bernardino as they continue to thaw out. And Ventura, always all over the place, pretty steady actually the past few years for the number of new listings. Demand is down, only one going under contract and one closing in the first 2 weeks of April. So these are low numbers, but just aren't as many buildings in Ventura in general, so not as many are going to trade. And finally, San Diego, we can see that inventory, the new listings is down, the lowest it's been, even lower than 2020. And demand is down as well, but not as low as 2020. So interesting to see this trend. There's some similarities in the market between 2020 and 2023. Again, it's tough, especially if these are higher priced buildings. It's tough to cash flow because of where interest rates are. And that is the issue for those who are selling, and they may be less incentivized to list their property and do a 1031 because they're going to have to lock in those high rates on the next asset that they purchase as well. So that is some of what we're seeing in the effects for a reduction in inventory and a reduction in demand in a lot of these Southern California markets. Now it's time for the Altos Research Reports. I love this data. You love this data. Let's dive in. And don't forget, you can sign up for these reports and have any city or zip code in the nation delivered to you. Starting with Orange County, we can see the market action index. Things are up. No surprise there. We're looking at a different statistic right now. This is properties with price decreases. We're going to look at all the different counties to see what's going on there. So the lower the number, the better it is for sellers. The lower the number, that's the fewer number of properties that have decreased their price. You can see this big run up as interest rates went up last year from record lows and to record highs. We saw more price reductions. Well, that has since dropped, and we're now down at more normal levels. Not as crazy as 2021 and 2022, which were crazy years, but an interesting trend you'll see. And take a look at all the different counties at this time. If you look at these dots, these are year-over-year data going back. We should start to see an increase in the number of properties at this time of year that are decreasing their prices. So hopefully that makes sense. There will be more properties decreasing the price because there's more competition, fewer buyers out there potentially. Prices came out with too high of a listing price. What we're seeing in the data, we saw a brief tick up and then it went back down. So we're not seeing that we've turned a corner. We're not starting to see price decreases. That's because of strong demand in the marketplace. There's one other thing I want you to watch over my shoulder and take a look at. And it's the market segments broken down. I know I'm in front of the market segments, but look in the new and absorbed columns, and what you will see, except for one example, is the new inventory is either going to be the same as absorbed or the new inventory is going to be less. And that means that more properties are being sucked up. So it is busy spring buying, selling season. Keep an eye over my shoulder as we go through the different counties. And here we are, Los Angeles, strong sellers market, properties with price decreases. Again, it is still going down, where at this point in time, it should start to go up. And we're at a more normal level. In fact, we have fewer properties with decreases than we had in 2019 at this time of year. And we can see for the absorbed versus new inventory, in some cases, it's significantly higher, the amount of absorbed inventory, particularly at the lower price points in Los Angeles. So again, hot sellers market for spring buying, selling season. Riverside County, strong market action index. Properties with price decreases should be going up. We should see more price decreases. The only year we didn't was in 2020. It continued to go down, but these other years it went up. And we can see here that we are still trending down for price decreases, which means properties are selling. They don't need to decrease the price. And we can see new versus absorbed, that all these numbers are higher in Riverside. San Bernardino, strong sellers market. Price decreases still going on when they should be increasing every year except for 2020. We saw an increase around this time of year. Things started to turn, but we're still seeing the price decreases. And over my shoulder, take a look, new versus absorbed. And you can see that over twice as many for the two lower price quartiles are being absorbed versus new listings. So stuff at the bottom of the market is moving quickly. Ventura, still a strong seller's market. Decreases have started to go up. So it turned here. This is atypical from what we're seeing in some of the other markets. It did go down a little bit, but it looks like it has turned. And this is the one market where we have a single quartile where there are fewer properties absorbed than new listings. It's in the third quartile in Ventura. That is the one exception in all of Southern California right now. In San Diego, last market to take a look at, strong sellers market, getting back to those very strong days. It was at 100 at one point in time. And look at that price. Decreases have dropped dramatically and should be starting to turn and go the other way, but it looks like they're not. So this is a market that's moving along quickly, and same thing with new versus absorbed inventory. Definitely a hot market in San Diego. Make sure you subscribe to those Altos Research Reports for your city or zip code, and you'll get the bonus of a subscription to our free weekly email newsletter where we cover topics like this, plus a whole lot of other hard-hitting real estate topics you're not going to want to miss. Oh, and speaking of things you're not going to want to miss, make sure you check out this next video for more on the Southern California housing market. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, Forever Agent with Wire Associates and Berkshire Hathaway, and we want to hear from you.